All right, I'll get started. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. My name is Emily Whitehouse. I'm one of our Associate Directors of Admission at the wonderful Yale School of Management at Evans Hall. I'm really excited to be bringing you this session today, which is part of our Ask an EMBA web series, which is the first year experience panel. We fortunately get to put this on every year around this time to chat with some of the wonderful members of the class of 2027 as they are starting very quickly to wind down year one and prepare themselves to ramp up into their second year of the program. They have such unique insights to share with you all today. I'm really excited for them to tell you a little bit, of course, rewinding far back into their process as they thought about considering this program and then kicking into their first year in the program, their experiences up to this point, and what they're most excited about coming into the incoming year. So with that, I would first like to encourage everyone here to listen in and enjoy this session. Feel free to drop any questions that you might have for our panelists in the Q&A section of this of the Zoom meeting, and then we will take as many as we can as the session goes on. But I would love it if you could share. First of all, I will go around the horn here. We'll do name, where you're calling in from, your employer and current role, and then one thing you wouldn't learn about you from LinkedIn or Google. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Rodrigo Abucham. We'll take it alpha by last name. How about that?
Sounds good. Hello, everyone. Rodrigo Abusham here. I'm based in New York City. I'm originally from Brazil. I work in finance. I actually work at Morgan Stanley. I'm a managing director here, and also a portfolio manager in the wealth management division. And one thing I guess you wouldn't know about me on LinkedIn is that I grew up playing competitive tennis. I ended up in the US from Brazil playing Division One tennis and ended up playing some professional tennis as well.
Thank you so much. Kicking it over to Ashley Lewis.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Ashley Lewis. I am located in Washington, D.C. By day, I work at a financial regulator, the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. It's a bit of a mouthful, so PCAOB. I head our engagement and communications division and office, so a lot of talking to our financial institutions and publicly traded companies. I think the next question was something about me. I would say I'm the youngest of seven. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of color.
Thank you so much for that. And next, we'll take it to Anthony Pearson Delizia.
Hello, everyone. Very nice to meet you all. My name is Anthony Pearson Delizia. Really excited to be here today with my other outstanding classmates to hopefully shed some light on some of what you can expect if you apply to our program. I'm located in Glastonbury, Connecticut, which is just outside of Hartford, about 35 minutes from the School of Management. And I am the executive director of an LGBTQIA plus health nonprofit organization, which serves the greater Hartford area. And I also serve as a member of the Glastonbury Town Council. Something that you wouldn't learn about me upon a Google search. I used to be extras in various movies and TV shows, with my biggest accomplishment personally being a featured extra in Batman Dark Knight Rises, where I was one of the orphans getting escorted over the bridge before it blew up. So sorry if I spoiled the movie for you, but yeah, I think we're passing it on down to Aaron.
Thank you. That is awesome, Anthony. I love that fun fact. Very cool. And Aaron, last but certainly not least.
Okay, well, so I'm gonna change my unknown fact for Anthony. It'll be directed towards us. But hi, I'm Erin. So I am a pediatric ophthalmologist. I'm an eye surgeon here at Yale. Um, I am proud member of Yale University in the School of Medicine. So I took this adventure started this adventure approximately 8 years ago to just sort of expand my horizons. And so I just am a busy doctor, a busy mom of two kids. Um, my fun fact was going to be that I'm left-handed and hate raw tomatoes, but um, I'm going to change this one to that I have an obsession about Christian Bale. And so I'm curious if you've ever met him.
Anthony, do you have an answer for that?
Yes, yes, I did.
Ah!
Oh, wow.
I sang Newsies in choir, so this is why I'm like such a big Christian Bale fan. Anyways,
I love that. Wow. You see, you're still learning new, fun, and interesting things about one another every day. That's just the zest of the program, I think, in the class of 2027. So I would love it if then we could zoom out a little bit and find ourselves, in the mind frame of what you were thinking about as you were considering applying to our program. Why Yale SOM? Why the EMBA program in particular? What sorts of things were you anxious or unsure about? There could be, of course, there's a lot of competing priorities for our EMBA community. You've got a lot of irons in the fire. Many of you have children, family commitments, the whole feeling of going back to school and, thinking through why our program would fit best with your lifestyle and with your goals for your future. I'd love it if you would take us back there first. We'll start with Ashley Lewis.
Yes, so for me and why Yale, I would say the conversation started well before I formally applied, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, even. But what I will say is you look at life and there's never necessarily a right time to do things. And I finally just like buckled down and said, yes, I'm going to do this. I applied, obviously went through the interview process, was accepted, all the things. I think for me, the why too, which kept drawing me back, was just what I noticed with interview day or visitation days and all those things and meeting different alumni was really like the community. And folks who really went out of their way to really help, not only with the application process and what that looks like, but even what we're doing now with you all. Fast forward, getting those experiences, right? And then I really wasn't necessarily anxious, if anything, more so excited, just because I had not been back in school since 2009. And I know when considering family, friends, and lifestyle and work and all those things, I do know one of the first things I did when Emily, you actually called me to let me know that I had been accepted to the program. I actually printed out our calendar for the 2 years and I shared it with family, friends, obviously your employers, my personal trainer, like all the things, just so people knew where I was on the class weekends or during residency or global network week. So they would understand, like, hey, if I can't make something, it's not because I'm ducking or dodging. I'm actually trying to, complete my MBA. So hopefully that helps give some color.
Yeah, and one quick anecdote that you also shared with me is that you took a little time for some fun too before kicking in,
Yes.
right?
Once you get your calendar for the 2 years, we started our residency end of July of last year. So took a vacation, saw a couple concerts, Beyonce, Cowboy Carter, went to a couple of music festivals, just kind of getting those things out of the way a bit because I knew once July hit, it was time to buckle down and get started with the program. So it is doable. But you just got to prioritize that.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. And on that same vein, I'm going to kick it over to Anthony. I want everyone to kind of share their insights because it's so nuanced. Everyone's decision-making process is so different in scope and thought process. So Anthony, I'd love to hear from you next.
Yeah, I think for me, when I was in the process of searching for a program to apply to, I applied to several of the various Ivy League schools in the area and even some of the non-Ivy League schools. And one of the things I think I found early on about Yale was I felt like it was truly unique in just how much of an experience that you all create, not just in the admissions process, but then what carries through, as I've learned, into the actual program itself, right? When I first came to one of the experience days at the School of Management, I left and I called my husband and I said, like, I feel like I'm meant to be here, right? It felt like a place that had so much energy, so much support from early on, again, as Ashley mentioned, carrying on into the program itself. And it really was a big draw for me. And it's Yale, right? I mean, we all know Yale is an excellent school. So that's an added benefit to it, right? And so, yeah, I think that I was most anxious about just juggling the time commitment with all of the other things that are kind of going on in life. And it's very doable, as Ashley said, right? Being very intentional about planning your time, right? Time management skills, making time though to still throughout the entire program, both pre and then in the program to actually enjoy yourself, have a little bit of fun. There will be times, and you will all come to learn of the stress curve, where there will be peaks, where certain classes and exams line up and you're going to have less capacity. But then when you have those times where maybe it's a little lighter coursework in between a 2-week class weekend period, right? Take that time to make times to spend with your family, with your friends, right? With your classmates on class weekends. So if you're anxious, just know that it is doable. We have very busy people in our program and in our cohort, and all of us are able to do it because we have support from our faculty, our program staff, and each other. And yeah, that's my biggest advice.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Anthony. And kicking it over to Erin.
Right. Yeah, to mirror a lot of this, especially in terms of anxieties. Mine really focused a lot on family and preparing my family for this, and that's where a lot of my anxiety and probably why I held off. When I initially applied 8 years ago, I found out I was pregnant, so I held off. And the timing then felt right to me at this point in my family life and career. And so really it came down to communicating a lot with them in advance. And as Ashley mentioned, like I took the schedule and it's printed throughout our house right now. And so my husband has access to it. My dad even has access to, my whole family has access to it. And so we really slow down when it comes to scheduling things. And we prepared for 2 years, basically, vacations with family, discussing even holidays. And likewise, I think it's also important to communicate really effectively with work and kind of, how you're going to integrate this into your work life. I have a little bit of a leg up on that because I'm already an academic, so and here at Yale, so I was able to actually prepare for this a couple years in advance before I was ready. So I actually took my administrative time and purposefully scheduled it on Fridays, for example, when I had some breaks, so that way it would mitigate any sort of reduction in work. So those are important things to start having with all, not just your family, your friends, even. And so everybody knows where I am at all times. And it's been extraordinarily helpful. And I think, especially from a work perspective, I gave them my vacation for the 2 years. And so it's just set, and then you don't have to worry about it. And so I think while they are missing me on Fridays sometimes, they really appreciate the fact that I'm just a known entity at that point. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. And last but not least, Rodrigo.
Yeah. Well, so one of the main reasons I ended up choosing Yale, it really caught my attention how in the due diligence, right, process, how diverse the program is, my cohort is. So when I say diverse, I mean diverse in terms of culturally diversity, but also professional diversity. So coming from the finance world, uh, I don't, just didn't want to be sitting with a bunch of, excuse the way I say this, but finance bros. Everyone thinking and looking like me. I didn't want that. I wanted diversity in thought, critical thinking, and I really felt that, and I see that every day. So this is uh, something that I love about the program. In terms of concerns like coming into the program, similar to what was said here, it was just time management. I mean, coming into the program, I thought it was very important to get everyone on board. I do a lot of business trips. Work has been crazy. I have two little boys, 2 and 4 year olds. So, it was very important just to get my family on board, my coworkers, my employer, um, and even some clients, right? I mean, so it's just about communicating and preparing ahead of time. So that was, yeah,
Thank you so
that's it.
much. I really appreciate you sharing that with me. So yeah, I mean, it's really it's all about personal preference, your own lead up time, and thinking this through with the many people in your life that will be impacted by your decision. I would say that it is a transformative program and something that you will come away better for having done. But now I'd love to kick into what the first year has been like. So you're currently wrapping up your first year and Yale SOM's signature integrated core curriculum. For our audience, these courses are taught through the organizational stakeholder perspective rather than by kind of more narrow business functions and disciplines. The core is really unique to Yale SOM. And so I would love to learn what were some of your biggest lessons learned through the curriculum? And have you been able to directly apply some of these learnings to your current work? And I will ask Anthony to take the lead and then for Aaron to answer a bit on that.
Yeah, thank you. So, I was talking with Emily kind of in preparation for this session, and reflecting back on residency, I actually assumed the role of executive director of my organization during residency. It was not planned. It was not the perfect time, and I came into an organization that, to be frank, right, was financially failing, right, and it was in crisis, and so. That puts a lot of additional stress on you as you're pursuing the beginning of this program. But then you start to realize, just how valuable this integrated core of this program is, in helping prepare you just to be a better leader, right? I had skills that I knew I could implement to help fix my organization, right? But there were also skills that I just and background that I didn't have as strong of a background in. And so, for example, in residency, right, you take accounting. I'm not an accountant. I don't like finance. I had a basic understanding, but when you're coming into a financially struggling organization, right, and assuming that role, you need to be able to truly understand and truly know those principles to be able to dive in, work with your finance team if you have one, and help create a strategy and a plan. And so immediately within that first 2 week residency, I was able to take some skills that I learned in that program, go back to my organization and implement them. And that has been the case over the past 9, 10 months that I've been in my role, right? And as we've gone through other various, customer, right, and learning about marketing, right, and how you can frame kind of your mission, like what makes you unique, and then also not just the core itself, but as Rodrigo mentioned, the diversity of perspectives and backgrounds of your cohort. Because as you're going through these core programs, people are going to bring valuable perspectives that are unique to their experience. And then talking to them offline and being able to then also take those lessons learned and help bring them into your organization. It's so unique. I think it's what makes this program stand out. And I know other classmates of mine also have had valuable takeaways such as that.
Over to you, Aaron.
All right. Yeah, so I love this question, and I've thought a lot about this. So there's a few things that really have surprised me other than just the, learning aspect and the academics behind business school. Because obviously this is not a world that I am used to. So learning the language, has been very eye-opening because I learning how to communicate in a business sense is different because I speak in medicalese, right? So So really learning a completely different language has been really exciting. And it has actually already changed how I approach my discussions with my patients, to be honest. And like I realize now I explain things differently. I ask questions differently. So I'm much more inquisitive with my patients, where as before I might just tell them the hardcore science and be like, you have to, adapt to this. But instead now it's more of a discussion that I'm able to have with them. So I think it has really sort of broadened my experience from that standpoint. And then secondarily, what has been also a surprise is that I actually really like sort of the finance, math heavy stuff. And which I was like, I think probably just more scared of than anything because I hadn't looked at anything math in a long time. But I'm really enjoying these concepts. And so I've been able now to sort of adapt to some of my leadership, and I'm asking them for projects to do that are not just science-based, but like financially driven within our department. And so that has really given me a lot of new experiences that I didn't think I would actually have.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to move on to discussing a little bit more of my favorite topic from a recruiting and outreach perspective is the development of our incredible community in the class of 2027. You also, I'm sure, have a lot of interaction with the outgoing class of 2026. Going to be excellent upper classmates to our incoming class of 2028. Can't wait for that. But I'm going to ask Ashley to kick into this question and then ask Rodrigo to add some additional insights. But we often hear students say that they learn just as much from their classmates as they do from the curriculum and the professors. Share who makes up this community for you, and who are your classmates? Who are those folks that are on your learning team? That's the group for those uninformed of this, that is your kind of core group within the program when you meet them very early on during orientation and residency, and they really become your day one ride or die folks in the program. So I'd just love to learn a little bit more what reflections really epitomize your overall experience of the community, the culture, and what's sort of the ethos of this program, in your opinion.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Emily. And I had mentioned that earlier of like what drew me to Yale SOM. I'll take even a step back because kudos to, I would say, the admissions team, because I think I'm biased for the class of 2027, but I do think there was you guys did a great concerted effort of like putting us all together, because I mean we have a doctor, we have finance, we have a nonprofit executive, myself, I work in policy and regulatory finance in DC, so we all have very different backgrounds. But to what everyone has said, when we're in class and professors are asking our thoughts and just experiences with, say, the core and what we've done to date, everybody has like a very different perspective. And it doesn't mean it's wrong or right, but you really kind of like light bulbs go off, I would say, in the openness and willingness to learn from others. So not only from your professors, but from the folks you see on this call here, right? Or bringing a medical perspective to it, right? Or bringing a policy regulatory perspective to a question or homework or even an exam that may be brought up. I know for community, I think you kind of come in as strangers, I would say, but definitely post residency, once you get to learn each other and meet each other over those 2 weeks, you really start to build those bonds. And I would even say you're pretty much paired up into learning teams of 6 or so your first year. And I'll just say for my learning team, we had a neurosurgeon, a cardiac surgeon, a nurse, Marine, full-time Marine, and I'm thinking of Dan, who's also in finance as well, and myself. And so when you're putting us all together in these group activities and learning about each other, you really get to know each other and learn from those experiences and see firsthand how folks can really help you and you help them. What I will say is, another thing about our community is everyone's willing to help, and everyone's willing to support you. There may be some things, I'm just poking at Rodrigo, not because, but he works in finance. So he may get SMF, which is a class you will take, a little more nuanced and easier than, say, myself or somebody else on the call. But I would say there's the olive branch and open arms to work with one another and help. So that is one thing I'm very grateful and appreciative of, to get through the core your first year. So.
Thank you so much. And Rodrigo, some additions?
Yeah, just similar to what Ashley mentioned, the learning group. You're pretty much stuck with your learning team for the first year, and that's awesome, by the way. But we had 6 people in my team representing 4 different countries, and all a bunch of different industries. We have healthcare, we have tech, we have marketing and finance people in the team. So I just go back to that point that I made earlier about the diversity of the program. I mean, so really learning from your peers and your classmates. I mean, it's been pretty awesome. Beyond that, I will say to my personal experience, I mean, I developed a few relationships with the faculty and professors. I have, you know, a few years down the road, I have a few ideas for business and ventures, and just it's been amazing to bounce ideas off of some professors and even TAs and faculty and getting close to them, like becoming a friend, developing a relationship. It's even developing mentorship. Like I have one professor that is becoming my mentor in a way. But so it very very valuable that sense of community at Yale. So.
Yeah, I think the time frame in which you're doing this in your lives and careers really helps to build that with the faculty as well, because you're so peer on peer with them and they're so interested in your insights, especially because you're applying this stuff in real time, and able to have this relationship with the content that's really very immediate and very valuable in the moment. Erin, did you have an addition to add there?
No.
Oh, okay. No, I thought
Sorry.
maybe something else. But so next, I'm actually going to ask you to take the lead on this next one. So it's looking ahead a little bit and thinking through what comes next for you all as you embark on year two. We have some exciting things that are coming down the pipe for you. We've got our last class weekend of year one coming up later this month. But as you think about your second year in the program, what are you most looking forward to in the year ahead? And after attending some of the colloquium speakers in each of these areas of our expertise as a school, how maybe has your mindset on year two shifted or changed? And how has the flexibility of that curriculum maybe affected your decision to pursue SOM in the first place, and how are you seeing yourself interacting with that in year two? I'll kick it over to Erin to start.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I was taking myself off of mute. So, sorry about that. So yeah, this has been really a great journey towards year two in the sense that I obviously am in healthcare, and so I even assumed that I was going to 100% lean into healthcare and that sort of thing. But to my surprise, I really am loving sort of some of the finance aspects and then exploring ways that I can integrate the two. So I'm still picking all of my electives for next year. They were just dropped a few days ago, so so it's actually really exciting because it's been very. I appreciate the flexibility and being able now to sort of make the decision. I may end up still going to healthcare, and I may end up also integrating some of the finance classes and sort of making the two work together. So that's what's been super exciting. That's what I'm looking forward to. And to Rodrigo's point, and I think I could probably do better at this, is like now I feel like we're becoming a little bit more senior in the program and really developing and harvesting the relationships between our professors and TAs will, I think, serve us very well. In terms of the colloquium, then you sort of bridge that to now those who have gone out into the world, have their MBAs, many of them were EMBAs, and you get to see the fruits of their success. And it was, I went to almost every single one just because I want to hear them talk and gather some lesson, like nugget of lesson, even if it's not in my field. And it's really number one. They're like master classes essentially in leadership too. And then you just see how courageous they were because a lot of them will open up into their stories about what they were scared about and what risks they took and how they were able to like foster success from all of that. And so I think it was a really great series. That's one of my favorite actually aspects of our class weekends, which are obviously on Fridays. So.
Thank you so much, Erin. I will kick it to the broader group on that. If anyone has anything that's raised for them, feel free. Otherwise, we'll go to our last couple of formal questions.
I'll just quickly say, I think for year two, looking forward to, I think applying a lot of the things that we've learned in core and actually, so I can kind of see the transition right now. So, for example, we're in negotiations where we're doing a lot of interacting one-on-one or in group settings even more, where you kind of have to apply what you're learning in real time. And I think there's more of that in year two. So it's like, all right, everything you're retaining and obtaining, how do you apply that into the classes for year two? So I'm excited about that.
Very cool. Thank you. And yeah, I would agree that there's a lot of fun in store, building on these foundations that you've built for yourselves over this year. And so the final kind of formal question, and then we'll do some lightning round stuff. Q&A, if anyone's got anything, feel free to add to the Q&A feature. Happy to take other questions, but I'm gonna throw this to all of you as kind of the final thing. What is perhaps a piece of advice or best practice or something that you wish that you knew earlier that you might like to share with the audience and that may help shape their experience as applicants and as potential members of the SOM community? Who should we go with first? Anthony, I think we'll go to you first.
Great. I was itching for this one, so I'm glad you called on me first. I'm gonna sneak in two little ones. But the first one, and I think this is to me the most important, and it's a philosophy I live by, is if you wait for the perfect time to do something, you're never gonna do anything. And so if you're sitting here and you're listening to this and you're worried, right, is now the right time? I would encourage you that yes, it is, right? Because life is always going to have things that it's going to throw at you. And so just know that you will have support and that you can do it. And then my second piece of advice is take time to capitalize beyond just the coursework if you do come into this program, right? Because the networking and the social aspect of this program is so important. And I'm so glad that even during residency, when sometimes it can be very intense, that I made time to actually enjoy and socialize with my cohort, because these are relationships that are going to carry into your life beyond just the 2 years that you're in the program.
Absolutely. Who's next? How about you, Erin?
Yeah, off mute again. So I my biggest nugget is coming from somebody without a lot of business background is as soon as you can start learning some accounting. Like the language and accounting was completely new for me, so that was like I did fine. I passed the class. I did, but the more you can get used to the nomenclature and understand how accounting works, the better, because it really travels through your classes throughout the year and it builds upon a lot of that. So it's a really important class. The professor we had is like she started off a tradition for us in our class because we loved her to bits. Like we just love every aspect of her. And we started taking photographs of all of our professors on our last class day because of her. And so we're just like tickled. But yeah, my advice is to learn accounting.
Love that. Thank you. Rodrigo.
Yes, so two quick comments, similar to what Anthony said. Once you get in the program, I mean, try things get busy, right? But try to make time to, hang out with your friends, enjoy the campus, enjoy the Yale spirit, right? I mean, so whenever I can, I love to come in on Thursdays or even stay Saturdays so I can go to a football game, basketball game, or go eat a New Haven pizza, right? I mean, hang out with your friends, walk around campus. They have an awesome gym. You can go work out in the gym, things like that. Just enjoying the campus. I think that's one thing you should try to do instead of just, all studying. And then to just back to that time management. What I want to say is like, for me and some of my classmates, I think it's important to, as you start the program, I mean, just take one day at a time, step by step. Don't study often, and don't do all that cramming thing. Cramming is a bad idea. I think it's important to study little by little and stay on top of it. Falling behind, it can be detrimental here. So that'll be my best advice.
Thank you. Good advice for us all. And last but not least, Ashley.
Yeah, everything the three of my esteemed classmates have said. But for sure, starting the program, giving yourself grace, understanding that is a full life adjustment that is happening. Even for me, I'll be candid, like September and October were an adjustment, not in a bad way, but just really getting back in the groove of like every 2 weeks I'm here, or every 2 weekends I'm here. Okay, really prioritizing that aspect. And I think to Rodrigo's point, I think something that is unique about Yale EMBA comparative to other EMBAs is we do have like full access to the university. So I'll example, I think like a month ago, class weekend, a group of us learned to play squash, right? So that was just different unique opportunities that I don't think you would necessarily get at other schools. The way we have access, literally, you just swipe your badge and you're like in the library, right? Or in any other part of campus. And I would say definitely explore and use those moments on Thursday. I come in on Thursday afternoons to really walk around campus or just get some of the restaurants and all those things. So,
Yeah, do not sleep on New Haven, everyone, is the moral of this story. It's why I've worked here for coming up on 9 years. There's so much here. But to your point, Ashley, we actually have a question specifically for Ashley. So check that out. This is
yeah,
coming from Caleb in DC,
yeah,
wondering how you've worked around the commute every other weekend, what the logistics look like. And then a quick follow-up.
yeah.
For everyone else to kind of think about while Ashley's answering is, are there any students in the cohort coming in from outside of the Northeast? Resounding
hmm
yes. I know it doesn't feel like that on this call, but yes. So maybe some of y'all can share some anecdotes for Caesar, who is wondering about where others are coming in from. But Ashley,
Yeah.
you kick it
But
off first.
does also, I don't know if DC counts as the Northeast as it does
I wouldn't say
Mid-Atlantic, but whatever. It's
it.
all. So for me, there's two methods. The train, so Union Station to Union Station, or so basically DC to New Haven. Typically, I take the train on Thursday midday, so I can get in by the afternoon, evening, again, to have dinner or hang out with classmates or do any catch-up work. And then take the train back Saturday afternoon. There is a flight I do from DCA, which is like Reagan, to Bradley Airport, which is Hartford's main or Connecticut's main big airport. Those flights I usually do in the fall, but it's like a seasonal flight on Saturday back. So I then therefore just take the train. So I say all that to say, like, those are the two main options for if you're coming from DC. I typically leave out Thursday midday, get in Thursday afternoon, evening, and then there is a there is a 4 o'clock train. A lot of us who live on the Acela corridor, as I like to call it, that we all kind of take where it stops like New York City, Philly, Jersey, Baltimore, DC is like the final stop. So you get to hang out with your classmates post class all the way to the end. So I will say that part of it makes the train ride go by quickly. And it is an opportunity to really get to know your classmates outside of class as well and post like, oh, what did you think about that exam? Or, oh, what did you think about that lecture? So those are the two ways that I commute up and back. So yeah, happy to answer any other of those questions as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashley. And do any of you have any anecdotes for, people in your learning team or in your cohort that are coming in maybe a little bit further afield?
Yeah, we have one who comes in from Oakland, California, Reggie. And so he obviously flies in. A lot of times he'll fly in either Wednesday or Thursday and can either come back. If he comes out, he'll spend close to 3, 4 days and then he'll head back home. But and he's got a family, he's got 2 kids, he's a coach, he's also a basketball coach, like he runs a nonprofit. He has a very, very full life, and I am in awe of how he manages to have it fit all together. But he does, he makes it work.
Absolutely. Anyone else have any
Uh,
other
I'll
colleagues?
just mention real quick. So, as part of the overall group, I mean, we have people coming from Seattle, from LA, San Francisco. We have someone coming from Toronto in Canada. We have people coming from Florida. So, there's people spread around the country and they make it work somehow.
Yeah, there are some people that just live that airport life and they have their sky miles, they've got their ability to hang out in the airport lounges and get some things done. And many just don't even think about it. Some are, active duty military and are out of the country between class weekends on mission work. So it can be done, I will quickly say. Wow, so there's some really great questions coming in. Let me see here. Um, so this one is a little bit both, right? So Andrew and Caesar both sort of are, I'm sorry, I'm mincing words now. Um, so Andrew has asked to hear just a little bit more about what made you select Yale SOM's EMBA program over, other opportunities in the more tri-state area. We don't have to name names here, maybe, but keep it classy. But essentially, what was kind of that differentiator for you in choosing Yale over a lot of fantastic options? Anthony?
I'd say just, and I think this one is important for any of the, if there's anyone attending this or watching this, who is a military member or a veteran. In addition to all the other amazing things I mentioned that drew me to Yale, Yale is also the only Ivy League program that, I'm not going to say specifics, but it is the most generous with the veteran benefits when it comes to helping bridge the gap of tuition that's not covered by the GI Bill. So if you are a veteran, definitely recommend you talk to the team and the financial benefits office and learn more about that.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other insights there, folks?
I'll just say, I think for me coming from DC, without naming schools, I have to pass like 4 or 5 business schools to get to New Haven. And again, applied, interviewed, did all the things at those schools too, but I just really knew where I wanted to be. Um, and I just kept getting drawn back because I was like, I knew what experience I would likely get out of this. Whereas, I think overall you kind of learn the same things, give or take, with the B schools. But I do think it is a culture aspect, as well, that you have to strongly take into consideration. And I knew when I would go do visit days, I was like, this might not necessarily be my vibe, but I know I'm capable, competent, smart, and can do all these things, right? And I just knew every time I was just drawn back to Yale, so much so I was like, yep, this is it. So if that means literally passing 4 other business schools every other weekend, so be it. But I knew it was the best decision for me. So really take those things into consideration. Understanding like travel or logistics, but once you're in, and it's Yale. So it's like, if you get an opportunity to do it, do it.
Thank you. Well, that is a wonderful vote of confidence, Ashley. We appreciate it.
Yes, no,
And
no
also,
problem.
I'll say from an admissions perspective, we do make it very easy for you to come and check us out. Really take the trip, take the time, meet some people, sit in on a class. We kick back into all of that in August when things really start moving and grooving again after we graduate our class of 2026, bring in our class of 2028, welcome back the 27s. Then we roll right into, some amazing programming so that you can really feel this out for yourself. It's one thing to hear from our wonderful students or from someone in admissions. It's another thing to experience it for yourself and get a feel for it. All right, so I think we are really at time, but I will say there were a couple questions that were kind of similar. So I'm just going to throw this one as the very last thing. How has the program changed how you view yourself or your work personally? Any sort of process changes, traits that you've noticed, and coming into year two after year one. We didn't even get into Global Network Week and where y'all are going or your favorite class. I guess we'll have to save that for a future chat, but just love to hear quick, tight 10-word sentence from each of you. um, what's kind of culminated for you as being, year one and all that you've done.
I guess I'll go. I would say that it helps build your confidence in your abilities as a leader. Even if you feel you are a strong leader already, I think it really helps round out, especially those areas that maybe you don't feel as strong in.
I'll go real quick. Just uh, part of the mission for SOM, right? For Yale SOM is the state and society. So that has a meaning. That has a true meaning, and I truly got to see that firsthand. How the program is integrated. It's business. It's very broad. It's not only finance, right? There is all aspects of the business. I think the approach is like a holistic approach where how you get to study different businesses and the economy, etc. So yeah, that's very valuable for me.
Yeah, to sort of mirror those, um, this is a very mission-driven school, and they follow through on that, for sure. And that's why I chose Yale as well. And you know, it's just completely almost like exploded my world because I was so siloed into medicine. So like it's been incredible just to experience like what the rest of the world does and how I can integrate that into my own life, but also into my own practice. And it's been a positive association, I will say. So
Yeah, everything everyone has said. I think for me also too, like really applying what I'm learning in real time when I go back to work Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday. That has definitely changed because, when you update your LinkedIn, people find out like I've gotten calls at work or like, hey, can you work on X, Y, and Z? So I definitely will say in real time, it has translated in that way as well. So.
That's so helpful. And last lightning round question before we close out is Global Network Week in June. You all embark on your global trip. We are the founding member of the Global Network for Advanced Management that spans 33 schools across multiple continents. And you had your choice of 22 plus great options. So very quickly, I'm sure everyone's just curious where y'all are headed in June. Anthony, where are you going?
I will be shark diving and spending time with penguins in Cape Town, South Africa.
That sounds very cool. Also learning some stuff, obviously. But now, Erin, where are you headed?
So I'm heading to Berlin for an innovation series, and I'm actually carrying an idea that one of my other colleagues and cohorts on a small business that we're interested in. Nothing to
Very
do with
cool.
medicine.
Wow,
Yeah.
awesome. Rodrigo.
I'm going to, along with 9 other friends here, going to China, Shanghai in China. Yeah, very exciting.
Fantastic. Very cool. And Ashley.
I'll be right up the road from Anthony, Nairobi, Kenya. So,
Very
yeah.
cool. Wow. I love
Yeah.
that everyone's going somewhere different this year. That's really great. Well, thank you all so much. You've been so generous with your time. I know we're over time right now. And please do, anyone who's joining us today, know that we will get a recording out to you as well. And we hope that you will come and check us out on campus and meet some of these folks in person. And yes, please do keep in touch with us over the summer. And into the fall, we will be relaunching the application in August. So right now is a great time to engage with admissions, meet us out on the road, and start to think about planning your future application. Anthony, Aaron, Ashley, Rodrigo, you all are just fabulous, and I'm just so fortunate to be a part of your world. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Really appreciate you. Everyone on this call, take care, be well, and we'll see you out there. Bye-bye now.